Welcome to B2B Commerce Corner. Commerce Corner is a sub-series of the E-Commerce Edge podcast discussing all things B2B commerce through the lens of agencies, consultants, merchants, and more. Enjoy. To another episode of the E-Commerce Edge podcast with me, Jason Greenwood, your host. It is my pleasure to welcome our amazing next guest, Mr. Alex Sayyah. He is the CEO of Aleran Software. Welcome to the show, Alex.
Thank you very much. Good to be here, Jason.
Awesome to have you along for the ride with me today. We're just talking about the fact that you're based in Santa Monica, Southern California, and not far away from where I grew up in Riverside. Beautiful, beautiful part of the world, isn't it?
Absolutely, on certain days. Of course, gloomy and overcast as Santa Monica mornings are, but it should get bright and sunny later.
Yeah, that onshore flow definitely can create a little bit of an overcast start to the day, but usually the sun burns it all off by mid-morning, 11 a.m. or whatever, and Santa Monica usually has some pretty killer weather. It doesn't get the super extreme heat that Southern California can sometimes get because of that beautiful onshore flow.
Absolutely, absolutely, yes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's why we pay those crazy prices.
Yeah, I hear that, but then you also have to put up with a crazy governor of California too. It's I don't know, it feels like a double-edged sword there in California.
It really is. And I don't want to get into politics on a podcast, but with the good comes the bad, as you said. It's just you have to weigh the positives and the negatives. Let's just put it this way. I'm debating moving to Miami.
What's so funny, you mentioned Miami. I just got back, so we've been traveling for a month internationally, my wife and I, and on our way home from the UK, we actually stopped in Miami for a couple of days. We were hanging out with a good friend of mine from the industry, actually, Graham Luby, and he actually has an apartment there in Miami, and we in Brickell, and we were hanging out with him for a couple of days, and he played tour guide. My wife and I have been to Miami together. I think this is our third or fourth time to Miami now together. It's her favorite kind of place in the States. My wife's originally from New Zealand. We now live in Mexico, but she absolutely loves Miami. We both do. We actually really both love Miami, and we did the Wynyard Walls walk, and we did a bunch of things there. They basically played tourist, and my friend Graham played tour guide. So we absolutely love Miami, but literally within a day of us leaving, they basically got almost like a hurricane style storm there. So we were lucky to get
Yeah.
out when we did because Miami airport was shut down,
That's
I think, for a while.
that's the thing here about the hurricane issue and then the humidity issue. And then I think about 13% state tax in California. And wow, can I be a little sweaty, have more money in my bank account, or do I want less money and not be sweaty? I don't know. Depending on the day, I teeter. The weather's nice kind of here and it's early in the week. I think I'll stay in California today, but by Friday, I guarantee you I'd be like looking at real estate in Miami. It's crazy.
I love it. I love it. Listen, before we get into Aleran and what you do and how to do it, why don't you tell us how you came to be in this wonderful world of e-commerce? As I look back across your background, I would say if I had to contextualize your background, I'd say you're a heavy-duty tech sales and marketing professional. I would say that's the really big focus of your background is you've definitely led consultative sales for a significant portion of your career. And as I understand it, I'm sure you'll correct me if I'm wrong, you're not the founder of Aleran, but you're the CEO of Aleran,
That's
and you lead up that kind of go-to-market sales marketing effort within the business. That's a big part of your responsibility and your remit is to grow the company. And
sure.
that feels like a really good fit for your background.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been with the company for about 5 years now. The company the company's DNA was all around sales order management, right around really working with mom and pop sales agencies. These are agencies that basically wrap CPG brands and sell them to retailers, etc. So we had software that was focused around that. And I was brought on to scale the organization, build it out, and increase the software capabilities and get more market share. And naturally, we morphed as we started working with these agencies. We realized that the actual manufacturer of the product also had similar challenges, similar problems, even greater problems, because the agency was just one channel of how they sold. They also sold direct. They also sold through other distributors. We started getting into solving these problems for these manufacturers. And then that kind of morphed into, okay, where's the sweet spot? Because manufacturing is huge. You could manufacture toys, You could also manufacture heavy duty machinery. And working with my team, working with our board, working with some consultants, we realized that there was a definite gap in the e-commerce offering and in general, just I would say sales acceleration software offering. And that was around industrial manufacturing. These are the unsexy manufacturers that you and I would have never heard of because they're not household names, but they're doing billions and billions of dollars in sales and they're underrepresented. You have the larger commerce solution providers really selling to the Nikes of the world and the Adidas of the world and trying to solve their problems. But no one really cares about, or at least till now, no one really cared about the manufacturer that's doing things around electrical switching for solar industries, things like components that go into big tractors or things like that. We found that to be a sweet spot for us from a go-to-market perspective. And really, we started trying to solve for companies that have complex products that they sell, complex pricing, complex channel mixes. But you know what? At the end of the day, they all have the same problem that we do as consumers as well, right? At the end of the day, every single person is a consumer, right? You're used to the whole Amazon experience that you have in your personal life, and that needs to seep into your business life because that's just how you're used to shopping. What we do at Aleran is really simply we try to take that shopping experience, that ubiquitous, easy to use shopping experience that people enjoy in their personal lives, and try to bring that to these industrial manufacturer customers.
As someone who is really heavily focused on consulting to the B2B e-commerce world, both platform vendors, and look, I've got multiple platform vendors as
Sure.
clients, but also consulting to a lot of manufacturers and distributors, I could appreciate the unique
Sure.
challenges of manufacturers and distributors and the fact that historically, going back especially 5+ years ago, there just weren't that many solutions that we could say were tailored for and catered for these types of complex products, complex selling cycles, complex pricing cycles, complex channel mixes, i.e., not only self-service e-commerce, but EDI, punch-out
Mhm.
e-procurement, and then now AI-assisted selling, where we can automate some of these traditionally more manual sales channels, email, Slack, Teams, WhatsApp, etc. And so there was a gap. I would say the gap was biggest sort of 5 years ago, but that gap has certainly been closed by a lot more competition in platform space for B2Bs. In the B2C and D2C world, Shopify's largely won that war. They are growing at a great rate of knots. They've got a massive ecosystem around their platform, 12,000 plus apps. They are a juggernaut that's hard to compete with in the B2C and D2C space. But we haven't yet seen quite the same level of consolidation in the B2B world. And I would say there's, 30 to 40 pretty solid, pretty well-known B2B focused platforms out there. And I said as late as a year ago that we were going to start seeing consolidation, not only in the B2B platform space, but also in the SI space. And we've seen Zaylab acquiring Trellis, and they've recently made a couple of other major acquisitions because there's just not that many of us in the B2B world that specialize in this really complex world of B2B selling. It's in the B2C, D2C world, there's a surfeit of knowledge, capability,
Sure.
experience out there. When you go to hire, if you're an SI or if you're a if you're a B2C or a D2C brand, you have a lot of resource to choose from out there. The B2B world, not so much. But I tell you, from my vantage, it has become more competitive than ever before, especially in the platform space, because there's so much feature and function overlap in those major B2B players that are out there. And when you guys decided to really double down on this B2B world and you decided to double down on that agentic selling, by agent, the human agent side of selling,
Sure.
not necessarily agentic AI selling, although that's coming too. What did you see when you looked out there at the pantheon of platforms, that 30 to 50 major B2B platforms out there? What did you see out there that made you go, "Hey, that's great. These platforms do some exciting things, but we think there's a gap here that no one is filling, that we are positioned to uniquely fill in a way no one else is, and that's our blue ocean moment. That's our blue ocean opportunity." What were you seeing out there that just was not being done well?
Our focus is the mid-market manufacturer. So I think that there's a lot of solutions out there for the larger manufacturers, that the multi-billion dollar manufacturers that have large IT infrastructure. What we tried to do was we want the little guy to be competitive. Us being a little guy ourselves, right? We have a lot of empathy for the little guy. And the little guy is anyone that's doing anywhere from $50 million in revenues to about $1 billion in revenues or so. That's really our sweet spot, the mid-market manufacturers. These manufacturers don't have a lot of great IT expertise in-house. They're always constrained for IT budget, IT staff, resources, etc. Our focus has always been, we saw a need, in that sector, manufacturers that were constrained with resource, IT know-how, very entrepreneurial, nimble companies that were great at creating great products and great solutions for their customers, but they needed to modernize in order for them to survive. Just like there's consolidation on the platform end, there's also consolidation happening with a lot of manufacturing roll-ups, right? Companies being acquired by bigger companies or by private equity companies that are buying a group of manufacturers. So for us, our focus was always like, that guy has the same problem that the big guys do, but he doesn't have the budget. So what do you do? So our focus has really been on building a platform that can actually do everything that these larger, more expensive, robust platforms do, but in a fraction of the time that it takes to implement. So just imagine the average B2B platform implementation that we've seen, that we've come across, takes anywhere from 6 to 12 months, really. For us, our customers are up and running in 6 to 8 weeks. Okay. These platforms cost sometimes well into the mid six figures, sometimes seven figures with overall implementations. Ours cost a fraction of that. And most importantly, our platform is designed for salespeople and marketing people to use on their own. You do not need a computer science degree to use our platform. So you could be very self-sufficient as a sales organization with our platform. Whereas you don't need to do Jira tickets in order to get a site up, or you don't need to ask IT to help you with content development or changing pricing. You can do all these things dynamically on your own with our platform. So it just makes it a lot easier for the lower guy.
Yeah, and at least from what I could tell, and in all transparency, we've never worked on a project together.
Sure.
I've never even had a demo of your platform, so I can go buy what's on the tin, so to speak. But
Yeah, we'd love
at
to
least,
show through it.
yeah, absolutely. We'll definitely have to get a demo teed up. The other thing that I noticed, you are, at least as far as I could tell, you're a full SaaS platform.
Sure.
You worry about the scalability, you worry about the infrastructure, you worry about security, you worry about upgrades, all that sort of stuff internally. You're what I like to call a modular monolith, meaning that you've got these different components, these different modules of the platform, all the way from OMS to PIM to portal capabilities to CPQ capabilities. But then you also have these other two kind of modules, as I see it, within the platform, which is your vendor desk and your rep desk, which are really tailored. And those are probably, to me, the more standout areas of the platform, because lots of B2B platforms out there are SaaS. Lots of them have PIMs, lots of them have OMSs, lots of them have
Sure.
forefront capability. But where it seems, at least as far as I could tell, where you guys have really doubled down is this idea of working with third-party sales agents or even internal sales agents that then need to be enabled to be able to do their job well. So be able to have access to their catalog items that they sell, being able to also, it feels like almost a marketplace of agents as well. You correct me if I'm wrong here, but Vendor Desk, it can connect you with agents as well. So let's say you're a manufacturer and you need to identify who in market can help represent your product and get it into the channel. It feels like you're also play the part of almost like a super connector in the world of manufacturing. So it feels like that side of the platform is the area where you've tried to bring some real uniqueness to the market.
I think that side of our platform is much more what we started with, right? So that was where we started with Repdesk and as well as Vendodesk. And a lot of what you said is spot on. But our differentiator is a lot more than that. So I think that's all great. And we do that for the agencies, and we do have a solution for them. And we do have probably 100 plus customers running Repdesk, and et cetera. But really our focus, again, like you mentioned, the 5 or 6 pillars that you mentioned, CPQ, PIM, portals, commerce, sales order management, this area that, that our focus right now has been really building that out, right? Adding AI to that and making that an easier consumable thing for these manufacturers that we're focused on, again, these mid-market manufacturers.
And when you say AI, this is a buzzword that kind of everybody has to
Sure.
talk about AI. They have to mention it. They have to say that they're
Sure.
working on it. They have to say they're integrating it into their systems. But for you guys, what does that mean for you? I know you've got a shopping assistant, you've got chat,
Sure.
you've got product recommendations, which comes down to more of the
All
personalization
right.
side of the platform. But like, what for you guys, what do you see as your primary pathway to getting AI, like useful, applicable, relevant
Sure.
AI into
Sure.
your platform?
Sure. So again, I'm not a big fan of doing AI for the sake of doing AI. I want it to be easy to use. Again, it goes back to the empathy for the sales organization, for the company. That's all that we're about. At the end of the day, we want to help salespeople sell more, right? So the way we think about AI is on two fronts. One is customer facing AI, so a better user experience, very similarly to what users get to see in their personal lives, leveraging AI. We want to be able to do that for the manufacturing customer as well. So just using voice to go and say, I'm looking for this product, please find that product for me. We have capabilities along those lines. Or I have a machine that does this. Tell me what part will fail after 1 year. And then it will give you a list of parts and you can pick the parts so you can put them in stock. So when that part does fail, that your operations continue. So that's the customer facing side on the AI. But there's also a lot of intelligent AI that we have internally for the actual our customer, which is a sales organization, which is how do I optimize my pricing based on my customer behavior? How do I know what products to promote, what products not to promote, what to push, what not to push, what type of content is resonating with my customers? Leveraging our capabilities with AI to make the sales team just much more intelligent and more timely in what they put in front of the customer as well.
Yeah, makes sense. And I think one of the key things that you do call out on your website in particular is the fact that in complex B2B selling cycles, one of the things that your more traditional B2C and D2C counterparts in the commerce world struggle with is this concept of restricted catalogs, restricted pricing, restricted buying quantities, et cetera, that's unique by customer, and then having the AI actually respect that. So that way, when you ask a question, it's only gonna be recommending products that you have access to. It's only gonna be
Sure.
showing you prices that you have access to. It's basically gonna be tailoring the AI experience with all of the selling rules respected throughout that entire customer journey, AI assisted or otherwise. And I think that's a really important thing to call out. And
Absolutely.
would you agree with
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly it. It's based on the login, based on who you are as the customer. You're going to get products served up to you that are only related to you. You're going to get them at price sensitivity is a big issue. You're going to get it at prices that and discount levels that you're accustomed to, that is within your SLA with that the manufacturer, as well as preferred shipping, preferred payment options, et cetera, et cetera. Absolutely.
And what if you were to look out across the pantheon of mid-market B2B platforms that are out there today and have a somewhat similar target ICP to you guys, the Znodes of the world, the Better Commerces of the world, the Fabrics of the world, et cetera. There are a number of mid-market targeted B2B platforms out there, but they tend to, at least as far as I can tell, in most cases, they're targeting both manufacturers and distributors in what they're building because oftentimes the needs I find for a manufacturer and a distributor are similar, not always
Mhm.
exactly the same. They're similar. And I don't run into too many distributors that are pure distributors and don't manufacture at least some of their catalog, and vice
Sure.
versa. I don't meet too many pure play manufacturers out there anymore where they don't want to just sell SKUs, they want to sell solutions, right? And so they might manufacture 10, 20, 30% of their catalog, but then they're a distributor for the other 60, 70% of their catalog. So they can go to market with a full packaged solution for their vertical or their category. And so are you finding that as well, that a lot of the businesses that you work with today, that they're not necessarily pure play manufacturers. They're doing elements of distribution. They're doing elements of drop ship. They're doing elements of other what I call mixed mode selling. And they also aren't necessarily just selling via portals. Maybe they're selling via EDI. Maybe they're selling via punch out to their distribution partner. So it feels like not only is the channel mix, digital channel mix, much more complex in the B2B world than the B2C world.
Mhm.
And we also have in the B2B world now, marketplaces are becoming a massively important selling channel. In fact, DC360 says that for the last 3 to 4 years, it's been the top selling channel for manufacturers and distributors by far, and still the fastest growing selling channel for distributors. So it's quite an interesting world where when most D2C and B2C operators think of the B2B world, they don't think they're gonna be competing with them in the marketplace space. But increasingly they are, and they're going direct, either direct to consumer or direct to their B2B buyer via these marketplace channels. So I guess what I'm saying is the selling models and the selling channels now for B2Bs are more complex than they've ever been, and are you seeing that
Absolutely.
same challenge?
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that we're focusing on is making sure that the customer's journey, the customer buying journey is captured within our platform, right? Whether you're coming into the portal or you're coming in through commerce or through a catalog or through even a call, because we have sales order management, whenever that at any touch point, our platform is there to support the sales organization. And like you just said, we're seeing a lot of mix. We're seeing it doesn't really matter where the transaction actually happens, because in reality, that person has touched, that manufacturer's touched that customer in multiple different ways as well. They've seen a catalog, they've gone to a web page, they've seen them at a trade show, they've had a call with the sales rep. We capture all those moments within our platform, and we basically cater to that customer purchasing, whether it's online or through a catalog, through the portal. That's all that information is captured, all that knowledge is there, and they can get served the right price, the right product mix. And that's what we're focused on.
And do you consider yourself also then a replacement for that selling organization's CRM as well? Are you going from lead to cash in your platform and tracking all activities from a sales perspective in that platform?
I think that CRMs are much more focused around the account and the opportunities. We're not really a CRM per se. We are looking at that transaction end to end. And so we capture that information. We do have a lot of integration with a lot of CRMs. We work in tandem with the CRM, but we're not a CRM replacement now.
Okay. So a lead and opportunity comes in to a CRM system, a
Sure.
Salesforce, whatever it is.
Sure.
The customer starts working with their account manager. But I guess what I'm trying to ask is, are there scenarios are you seeing? I'm starting to see this emerge more and more, that more manufacturers and distributors want to acquire customers digitally and natively, meaning that they're starting to ungate their experience at greater numbers. Historically, that's never been the case. Historically, manufacturers and distributors are a closed book, and basically, unless you have a trade account with them, bugger you. You're not even gonna be able to see the catalog unless you log in and authenticate. More
Sure.
and more, they're realizing these manufacturers and distributors are finally starting to get religion about open catalogs, maybe not open pricing and maybe not open inventory
Mhm.
display, but at least open catalogs to where Google and ChatGPT and all the other engines can at least index their catalog, know what they sell, so that way when, a buyer these days, a B2B buyer, they're not in many cases, they're not waiting for account executive to knock on their door and say, "Hey, Mr. and Miss Customer, hey, we're a supplier of these products. Would you like to explore a trade account with us?" They're not waiting to go to a trade show. They're not waiting to go to an event, an industry event to find their next supplier. They're identifying their suppliers digitally now more than ever before. And 71% now, according to Forrester, of B2B buyers in the United States now are millennials and Gen Z. So they're starting their buying journey digitally. And so
Sure.
therefore, if you don't have an open catalog that can be indexed by Google and the LLMs of the world, it's going to be hard for you to be found. It's going to be hard for you to be identified in the consideration set as a supplier in this vertical. And are you seeing more and more of your customers, instead of the account or the customer, the potential customer being loaded into a CRM, the customer being acquired 100% digitally and natively, meaning they come to the website for the very first time. They actually create their buyer account, their trade account digitally for the very first time. They get assigned maybe a default price list to start off with until they get a trading track record with that business. And then maybe once they get to a certain scale, then an account manager gets assigned and then a dialogue gets opened. So it feels the historic way of acquiring customers in the B2B world, that whole apple cart is being completely upset with the modern digitalization of customer acquisition. Are you seeing that too?
Absolutely, absolutely. And one of the things that we're able to do is with our commerce capabilities, we're basically indexed via Google as well. So people can have their entire catalog on their website that prospects can come and look at. You can choose to show MSRP pricing or map pricing, as they call it, or you could choose not to have any pricing. And if people want to get more information, they would have to log in. And log in is self-service, where they come in, they can request to log in, then the manufacturer can qualify that person to say who that person is, choose which pricing methodology to give to that customer. Absolutely. We're seeing more and more of our customers tell us that they're looking to acquire customers through commerce as well, that they want to be able to purchase. They want their customers to be able to purchase through a Google search kind of experience. Not only that, but what's also interesting is a lot of what our platform is great at doing is also these aftermarket parts stores for these manufacturers. And that's also a great opportunity to get new customers, right? Because if a lot of parts are interchangeable, right? So when parts fail and you have to reorder more parts, naturally we're all consumers at the end of the day. The buyer in that customer site is going to go into Google and type in the widget that he or she is looking for, and then they're going to be served up a bunch of different options. Our customers want to be one of those options. They want to be the one that has that aftermarket part store, because then when they can easily transact and buy that part, guess what? We're also serving up the whole system. So it's not just a part anymore, but that customer will come back because they had a great shopping experience and not only buy parts from them, but also actual systems and the whole kit and caboodle.
Yeah, it makes sense. And how are your sellers dealing with their EDI and punch out challenges? Because this is still a major method of procurement, both by distributors. And are you seeing a willingness? Because I'm definitely seeing this shift happen in the
Sure.
market. So I'm a manufacturer, I'm selling usually to a distributor.
Mhm.
Occasionally, I'm selling to a direct business that's consuming my goods, but oftentimes I'm selling to a distributor. And what I'm seeing from the distribution side is a willingness to share supply chain data, inventory data with a manufacturer so that we never run out of inventory, for example. So
Sure.
instead of having to generate a PO, send it off to the manufacturer, and then the manufacturer fulfills against that PO, okay, cool. We're gonna send you a inventory update once a day as a distributor. We're gonna show you what our min-max is at SKU level. We're gonna also show you our current inventory. We're gonna share current inventory with you on the daily. And then anytime something falls below that minimum level, we want you to just automatically generate that PO for us. We
Sure.
want you to automatically ship that and bring us back up to that max level that we want to carry of your products at any given point in time. And we want you to auto fulfill, almost like a subscription model, but it's
Mhm.
based on shared inventory, shared supply chain data. Whereas this used to always be almost like a proprietary thing that the distributors they never
Sure.
wanted to share what they carried. They never wanted to tell you how much they carried of it. They never wanted to, unless you inquire, they never wanted to tell you whether they carried it in stock or not. It was always this proprietary piece of information that the distributors felt gave them an edge. But I'm seeing now that moving to more of a just-in-time model, moving more of a shared supply chain visibility model, but also major manufacturers needing EDI capabilities because major distributors want to buy off of EDI, or major manufacturer distributors want to buy off of them by a punch out slash e-procurement. So they're running a Jagger, a Coupa, an Ariba, whatever, and they want to be able to generate the PO. They want to be able to pull down the catalog from the manufacturer, make the purchase, send up the PO to the manufacturer, and get the order fulfilled. Now, do you guys offer EDI capability in the platform, or do you partner with somebody like a True Commerce or other EDI, a Crystal or something like that for the EDI side? And then similarly, from an e-procurement integration perspective, because this is so part and parcel of the B2B supply chain, do you offer punch out capability natively in the platform, or do you partner with a Trade Centric or a Greenwing or somebody like that then extends that punch out capability into your clients' industries?
Sure. So both on the punch out and on the EDI, we're agnostic. So we partner with all of them depending on what the customer's needs are. We don't have a preference with any of the EDI providers or the punch out providers. Our platform integrates with their platforms and we partner up with all of them.
Okay, cool. So you have no desire to bring that capability into your platform natively? You're like,
Yeah,
"Look, we don't want to be a punch-out provider."
that's correct. That's not part of our overall strategy. And we want to focus more on the commerce and the transaction side.
And are there any specific verticals that you guys think that you really can win in versus some of the competing B2B e-commerce platforms that are out there that are targeting the mid-market alongside you? What are some of the verticals and categories that you feel, hey, we've been doing this so long, we deeply and intimately understand the challenges of these verticals, and therefore we've built out our tooling to uniquely be able to meet them where they are?
What's interesting is we have customers across the board. We have customers that are in anything from boilers that are not that exciting to anyone except those who need them, as well as electrical switches. We have customers that are doing shipping equipment parts. So really, we don't have a preference. We're not just focused on one industry specifically. Any manufacturer that has complex products, they need CPQ, a light sales CPQ, right? Something that's easily for the salespeople to use and customers to use. We find them to be a fit. So we're seeing traction across all types of industries right now.
And of all the modules that you guys have, because you got 10 different modules that are core part of your platform out of the box, where do you think, which module are you particularly proud of, or do you think that's market leading that you go to market and you say, hey, look, we think we're doing this in a pretty novel way that no one else really is approaching it the same way we are. And we think this is particularly good for industry because of XYZ reason.
Sure. I think there's a couple. So one of them is CPQ, which I just mentioned. I think our philosophy is to have a light CPQ, so much so that we can also integrate with much, much more complex CPQs as well. Because customers, the analogy I like to use is when you're buying a car, right? You're buying your 5 Series BMW, right? You don't necessarily care. You want to know the engine size, you want to know the number of doors, the entertainment system, all that good stuff. You don't necessarily care the what the headlight mount looks like, right? A lot of CPQs go down to the BOM, the BOM level, and that's important, and you should have that. But our philosophy on the CPQ, again, is how do you make it light and easy to use and easy to transact for the customer? So it's a customer-facing, sales-facing CPQ that I think we've done a phenomenal job with, and our customers are seeing a lot of great use out of that, get use of that technology from our platform. And then the second one I would say would be our portal. Our portal is very easy to use. Customers can again, they log in, they can transact, they can reorder, they can change quantities. It's just much easier for them to know exactly where they stand and not have to call in to the sales organization, to the manufacturer to figure out where their orders are, what their status is. If they want to reorder, it just give them a much better self-service experience. So those would be the two.
And like, where are you guys when you think about the market that you're going after? What is your primary GTM in terms of going out? Is it outbound? Is it picking up the phone and ringing manufacturers? Is it going to conferences? Is it going to trade shows? Is it creating your own events? Where are you finding the most success in? Because obviously, when you're trying to find product market fit, you have to have a
Sure.
certain number of customers so that you can make sure,
Sure.
hey, we're tailoring this for our
Mhm.
ICP, and we're
Mhm.
going to continue to tailor this for our ICP as we go along so that
Sure.
we know where to invest. Because at the end of the day,
Sure.
you can't, it's impossible to be all things to all people. It's just impossible. So you got to niche down. Where are you finding the most success in terms of both acquiring customers that are a great fit for your
Mhm.
platform, but also feedback from the market that
Sure.
allows you to tailor your roadmap or continue to tailor your roadmap for that specific ICP?
Sure. We do traditional marketing automation like most companies do, of course, and we do some digital marketing as well. But really, where our core focus is right now is two fronts. One is we're doing a lot more industry events because we want to learn more about our customers' needs. So we're doing a lot more industrial events, as well as we're doing a lot of ERP events because we're agnostic to the ERP, because we have integrations with the Epicors, the Infors, the SAPs of the world. We're going to their events as well and participating in those events, showing their customers that our solution, what our solution does, how we're a better fit in the mid-market space. And we're seeing some great traction there as well, because a lot of these ERPs have their own acquired commerce offerings. And a lot of those offerings are, again, more high ticket item prices. They're longer to implement, longer sales cycles, maybe too cost prohibitive for some of the customers that mid-market. And we're trying to carve a niche out there for those customers as well.
Makes sense. Makes sense. And how do you guys make your money? You're a SaaS platform, and so do you sell your software on a subscription? Is it on a modular basis? Is it on a per user basis? How do you guys make your money? How
It's
do you price?
it's subscription based. And there's really two ways where we make money. One is where implementation and professional services. Those are things that we do as well, depending on the customer's needs, as well as pure SaaS. In some cases, it's license based. Some of it is MSA based. Some of it is just pure subscription based, depending on the customer type.
Sure. And so you do all of your own platform implementations. You don't have partners that implement your platform on your behalf. You do all implementations yourself?
We right now that is the case, but we're working with some SIs right now as we're expanding our customer footholds, and we are working with some SIs to go over some of that implementation for us. It's kind of where we want to go. We want to be a software business, not a implementation, not a systems integrator. Ideally, as like you said, as we penetrate into more of these markets, as we grow our customer base, the idea would be to get some preferred SIs to do the implementation for us so we can focus more on building great software more so than implementing software that we already built.
Yeah, no question about that. I think most software vendors would ideally like to they have to typically seed the market, right? They gotta get their software out there in the market, and so they don't have have a choice in the beginning. They gotta
Sure.
do implementations whether they want to or not. They gotta develop the playbooks. They gotta develop the partner model. They gotta develop the partner program. They gotta do all those things. Oftentimes, that's a must-have. It's not a nice-to-have in the beginning.
Yep.
But you're right, most wanna move eventually to a primarily partner SI-led model, which makes sense. Now, when we start thinking about some of your key ERP integrations and some of your other system integrations, CRM integrations, WMS integrations, et cetera, that you guys don't deliver out of the box yourself, but you partner with other companies to deliver that. Are those integrations, are they natively built by you, hosted by you, and delivered by you? Are you working with an iPaaS platform of choice, or how are you delivering these core system integrations to manufacturers? How are you delivering those?
It's a mix of both, right? So in some cases, we have a middleware partner that we work with, and iPaaS, and some of the integrations they're built by us as well. Really depends. Ideally, whenever you build an integration, you're responsible for that integration. You're responsible for any upgrade, the challenges that happens. That gets quite costly for companies, and customers don't want to pay for integrations. So ideally, we want to get to a point where most of that is done through partners, but there are some that we do ourselves, depending on the partner and the strategic reason for having it.
Sure. And who do you obviously don't operate in a vacuum. You obviously are in a competitive market as we all
Sure.
are. Who do you view as your major competitors in the space? I'm guessing it's not the Shopify's and the big commerces of the world because they're so B2C and D2C focused with kind of bolt-on B2B functionality as more they're getting more B2B religion more recently. They
Sure.
started out life as a B2C and D2C focused
Sure.
platform, not as a B2B focused platform from day one. And there's many B2C and D2C platforms that are slowly trying either through apps or through native functionality, trying to capture more and more of that B2B market. But as they're discovering, that's hard because it's that the B2B industry is a challenge. And each vertical and each category within the B2B space has its own unique selling cycles and product
Sure.
complexity, et cetera. And they're never gonna if we look at a Shopify or BigCommerce, they're never gonna have a PIM system. They're never gonna have full-blown end-to-end order management. They're never gonna have all those things. And so I don't think they're going after the same ICP you are. But who do you see as your primary competitors in the market that kind of almost every deal you seem to be coming up against, and maybe you win some, maybe you lose some,
Sure.
but these are the major players out there that we see as our major player competitors.
Sure. To the big commerce point, we've had more than a handful of customers go from BigCommerce to our platform because they were burnt, to be honest, right? They bought something that they thought was going to solve their problems for them. They worked with a partner. They spent six figures, mid six figures in some cases, trying to basically put that square peg in the round hole. And after 6 months or a year and a lot of troubles and a lot of money, they come back and they go, that's not going to ever work. It's never going to work. So they come and they knock on our doors and we are able to do it right off the bat. Like you said, these bolt-ons don't always work because those platforms are natively B2C and B2B is a very different animal. So we do see a lot of that. But the company that we come across with the most and most, in a lot of our customer scenarios, and where we have a better than average battery percentage would be the Magentos, the Adobe Commerces. And there's still different flavors of that depending on the ERP. Sometimes they white label it as something else. But generally that's the one that we come across the most. And great platform, a lot of capabilities, but the economics are really where we win. If a company has all the money in the world, chances are we're not going to win that fight. But if a company is more price constrained, they don't have the staffing that they need, the internal know-how to basically manage that platform, then we're a better solution for that.
Makes sense. And what's next for you guys? If we were to look out over the next 3, 6, 12 months, what is high on your priority list? What's top of the radar for you in terms of new features, new functionality, new target markets? What's your focus over the next, let's say, 6 to 12 months? Is there anything super exciting that you're working on behind the scenes? Obviously, I don't want you to give away the farm, but what is our overarching themes that are important to you guys over the next 6 to 12 months?
Sure. So for us, again, it's really three things. One is to continue to make progress, get more customers. Of course, when we're a small company, we're trying to grow our customer base, and we're going to be quadrupling revenues this year. The goal next year is to do that as well, if we can. We have aggressive sales goals, which are awesome. And then, of course, that's one. The second one is to continue to invest in AI, but not AI for the sake of AI, like I mentioned, but really usable AI. When people talk about agentic AI, that's a big word, right? That can mean a lot of things. But we want to use it in such a way where our customers actually win. So our customers win and they drive more sales. So we're heavily invested in a extensive roadmap that basically seeps AI into all the different things that we do across our platform. And then the third thing, which is a little hush, but just similarly to what we're doing on the sell side with our platform, we're going to do something very similar on the buy side. And that is, we have connected commerce, which is our platform. We are actually building out another platform called Connected Procurement. And it's just going to complement the sell side with the buy side. Same philosophy, same ethos of where we help the sales guide win and sell better. We want the buyers and the operational team within organizations to have more insight, more control, more information on the procurement side as well. So that will be a complement that we're building out. It'll be a whole new platform that will be out.
And so I'm guessing that buy side platform would then be targeting distribution, I'm guessing.
Absolutely. Yes.
Distributors buying off of the manufacturers that you already serve. So I guess we could think of that, again, don't expect you to give away the farm, but
Yeah.
that would be potentially a replacement for a Jagger, a Coupa, and a Ariba, that they could implement your system to manage the whole procurement side of their business.
Not really, but I don't want to say too much, but the goal with that platform is to be able to have just an easier buying experience and tie that more into kind of what your sales is doing as well. Just better understanding of how you're receiving product, the fulfillment side of it, how you're doing RFPs, how you're doing. A lot of our customers are doing bidding on products. We're also looking at A&D space. To be honest, that's a space where both buy side and sell side need to merge. We're looking at solutions around that as well. Yeah, we have lofty goals, great intentions, and the whole goal again is to not stray away from who we are as a business, right? Our business has always been helping the little guy out, right? Making the mid-market manufacturer be able to compete both on the sell side, right? So now we want that mid-market manufacturer to be able to compete on the buy side as well. That's the whole ethos of what we're doing.
Makes sense. And how are people best to get a hold of you? I'll drop your LinkedIn link into the show notes as well as a
Sure.
link to your website. But other than that, how do you like people to get a hold of you if they want to talk all things B2B,
All right.
especially manufacturing?
Always reach out to me via LinkedIn. We have contact sales@aleran.com or info@aleran.com. We have a great team, a team that's growing, and we'd love to hear from everyone. I'd love to speak to people, not just on the customer side, but I'd love to talk to industry people as well. If people know something that I should know, if they want to help me out or just kick some tires, I'm always available. I love to learn.
Amazing. Amazing. Listen, an hour has nearly flown by here. Now, as we do come down to the end of our time together, this is where I get to flip the script. I get to hand the microphone over to you to let you ask me one question. Any question you like, can be personal or professional. Mr. Alex Sayyah from Aleran Software, what is your question for me today?
You put me on the spot, right? I would say my question for you is, where do you see the B2B landscape going? Where do you see AI coming into play? Because all of us are investing in it because we want to and because we need to. But we're also all betting on what we think is right. But you see all these platforms a lot more than I do. Where do you think the right investment is with AI and B2B?
Yeah, look, I think the three themes that I'm seeing emerge in the B2B space is consolidation first. I think there's gonna be incredible consolidation of platforms over the next 2 to 5 years, where the industry just cannot support 30 to 50 major B2B platforms. That's not gonna be it's just not gonna be the case 5 years from now, it just won't be. I think that's the first thing. The second thing is there's 2 massive areas of AI investment I'm seeing almost everyone make in the B2B world right now because it's so relevant. One is AI to allow Salesforce automation, not Salesforce the platform, but Salesforce automation, automating formerly more manual channels and channels that are still extremely common in the B2B world, that being email, WhatsApp, live chat, Teams, Slack, that those automating those and turning those into headless sales channels, AI, especially conversational AI, is becoming a really big thing, being able to receive orders via those channels, PDFs, plain text orders, CSV-based orders, etcetera, being able to accept quote requests via those channels, being able to do catalog search via those channels, being able to check inventory via those channels, pricing, etcetera, basically automating those channels and turning those into digital channels. They're already semi-digital, but they've traditionally been used primarily for communication and customer service, not necessarily sales activities. I'm seeing a lot of that being done and managed by AI. The second area where I'm seeing AI starting to get a lot of traction is agentic, but specifically in the area of being able to serve the buyer's agent out of platforms like those major e-procurement platforms, the Jaggers, the Coupas, etc., where they're building buying agents where the procurement specialist, instead of having to list a series of 53 SKUs that they want to buy and attaching a PO to that and then pushing that back via punch out channel, it's saying describing the scenario that they are trying to meet. Okay, cool. Here's a schematic. I'm going to send that off to my electrical supplier. Here, my buying agent uploads the schematic to the selling agent and says, okay, here's my schematic. Tell me all the products that you supply that can fill this schematic, basically. Can you supply everything required to deliver on this schematic? And then the seller's agent needs to be able to respond almost like an account manager would and say, yes, we can supply 85% of the items in the schematic. Oh, here's the SKUs. Here's your price. Here's what we have in inventory for each one. And then send that back to the buyer's agent, right? All electronically. So I think of agentic AI, especially in the B2B world, almost like I don't know what happened there. I lost my screen. Anyways, I'm back.
You're,
We'll cut that out. But anyways,
yeah,
we're back, I think anyway, at least as far as I can tell. So where I almost see modern agentic AI almost like the modern EDI for B2Bs, but it's going to be much more informed by both sides, but both the buying
sure,
agent and the selling agent.
sure,
And the other great area of usage of AI in the B2B world, specifically from the selling side, is that historically we've had to convert all those exploded drawings, product data. When we think of product data, we've had to convert PDFs and exploded drawings and schematics and diagrams and images and all that sort of stuff. We've had to convert that into very good quality structured data, tabular data, table data, faceting data, etc. And now with agentic AI, we're going to be able to have agents that, just like ChatGPT today, I can upload a PDF to ChatGPT today through multimodal AI, and it can give me a 2 paragraph summary of a 100-page PDF instantly. We're going to get this to the same place on the B2B world where instead of having to create all this beautifully perfect structured data, we're going to be
sure.
able to have agents that can go into that product data, regardless of the format of that data and regardless of the layout and structure of that data, and regardless of the source of that data. And it's going to be able to query that data and it's going to be able to bring back meaningful responses regardless of where that data is coming from and regardless of how well structured it is. It's going to be able to query that data just an account manager would today, where I'm the buyer. I send the account manager a really complex question about the products that they sell. They go away, they do the research, they pull the information together from their network drive and from their desktop, and they put it into a zip file, and then they send it across. That is going to be able to be replaced by a very smart agentic AI capability. And that's probably some of the most exciting areas I'm seeing emerge on the B2B side of the fence.
Wow. Wow. Pretty cool. And,
Exciting, isn't it?
it's very exciting. I'm just, my wheels are turning on kind of what we need to do as a business to be part of that. So I think the first thing that you mentioned, we have a lot of that um, ordering via the different, like the WhatsApps of the world, things like that. Those are all things that we all are planning for, of course. But the latter of what you mentioned was actually quite interesting. And it puts a whole new spin on needing even websites at some point.
Correct.
So that's a big shift again in how people buy. The good news is that I feel that we're fortunate industrial manufacturing sector, at least, that these guys are not cutting edge, right? The laggards. So it just gives all of us some more breathing room and some more time to build these things out. I think a lot of what you're saying is already happening in the B2C world as
Yeah,
well.
they're way ahead of
I'll-
us. Always
yeah,
are.
yeah, we need to see how that rolls out first, and or that what the pitfalls are there, and then so we can do better for B2B, because B2B is always going to be more complex, more difficult, no matter how you skin that. But it'll be interesting. Yeah, some interesting times ahead. Thank you so
Listen,
much.
my pleasure. Thank you so much for your time. Can't wait to speak to you again soon. Are you a B2B or D2C e-commerce merchant? Then head over to greenwoodconsulting.net to learn how we can help you scale your business.